Good morning. What a great start we've had to the Resource Forum so far. As usual, nothing less than what we ever expect. It's been amazing. The networking that's been going on has been endless so far from what I can see and participated in. And this start has made my time up here even more exciting because I get to continue building on the excitement that has started by sharing some very exciting and interesting news. In 2019, Rio Tinto began a partnership with UNBC and NSERC for a 5-year industrial chair on climate change and water security project. The chair, Dr. Stefan Derry, and his team were able to gather data and study the weather and climate impacts in the Nechako watershed, and then shared research across BC, Canada, and even on a global stage. This is a short video of the work that took place during that partnership.
From its headwaters in the Coast Mountains to its mouth in Prince George, the Nechako River is an important natural resource. As the NSERC Rio Tinto Industrial Research Chair on Climate Change and Water Security, UNBC professor Dr. Stefan Derry has led a 6-year project to better understand hydrology in the face of climate change and human impacts on the Nechako watershed. The research is anchored by the Tatsa Ranges Atmospheric River Experiment, Canada's first field campaign dedicated to studying atmospheric rivers. This program has made significant investments employing 30 researchers, including undergraduate and graduate students, postdoctoral fellows, and support staff. Cutting-edge technology like vertical pointing radar, weather stations, and water temperature loggers has enhanced data collection and hydrological modeling. Dr. Derry's team has published over 7 peer-reviewed articles and presented groundbreaking research at international conferences, contributing to a global understanding of atmospheric rivers. Community engagement and outreach have been central to this collaborative effort, ensuring the research aligns with local priorities and to better understand the impacts to the watershed. Hydrological models are helping predict future water flow changes and the impact of climate change on water temperature, and laying the foundation for sustainable water management for future generations. The findings will continue to inform impactful, community-driven water management strategies, safeguarding the future of the Nechako watershed in an era of climate uncertainty. With continued support and collaboration, the NSERC Rio Tinto Industrial Research Chair is charting a path for sustainable water management in an unpredictable climate.
This partnership, where industry, UNBC, and research team members were expected to trust each other and work together with no bias, was a new concept for many involved. There were some challenges at the beginning, but with the help of the Associate Vice President and Strategy Outreach person, Mark Barnes, we were able to engage, be transparent and open, and have a dialogue that brought us together even quicker. It helped us to see the importance of each other's roles in our communities, the economic benefits that industry brings, and the unbiased and scientific data that universities such as UNBC offers. That brings us to today, where I'm very proud to announce that Rio Tinto will not only continue to partner with UNBC to renew Dr. Derry's work under the Research Chair on Climate Change and Water Security, but we will also fund a second research chair with Dr. Eduardo Martins on climate change and fresh fish ecology. Rio Tinto will fund the 2 research chair positions the next 5 years with our commitment of $1.75 million. This is exciting news for the Nechako watershed, where research work is being done by academia in the north and where we are experiencing the climate change and extreme weather impacts such as drought and atmospheric rivers. Having concrete data on climate change and the environmental around us is important in adapting to change and finding better ways to operate. To discuss the benefits of this partnership, we have Dr. Geoff Payne, President of UNBC, Andrew Czornohalan, Director of Energy and Watershed Partnerships for Rio Tinto, and it'll be hosted by Pamela Ketlo from the Lands Manager, Nadleh Whut'en First Nation. Thank you.
Good morning. So I guess we'll just jump right into it because we are on a tight schedule. So why is it important for industry, academia, communities, and First Nations to work together on research projects such as climate change?
Well, first, I would like to thank Rio Tinto for recognizing, the value of a partnership with the University of Northern British Columbia, and really appreciate their vision and wisdom in this. To me, the importance of the partnership between industry and the university is we each have our individual strengths that we bring to this and our individual vision and goals, but true partnership and what we've seen with the work with Dr. Daria now that will be extended now with Dr. Martins is that we can take those individual strengths and through true partnership and collaboration, we can do something that individually we would not be able to accomplish. To me, so that is the true value of a true partnership and a true collaboration. And if I could make one brief other point, it's all right to have conversations, but for really true meaningful partnership, it's taking those conversations and moving those words into action. So really excited to see where we're going next.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I would certainly echo the comments of Geoff. For me, the partnership we established in 2019 with the initial research chair, taking the science, progressing the science, delivering it in a way that can inform not only us as Rio Tinto, operators of a hydropower system that is clearly being impacted by changing systems and changing environment, but doing it in a way that doesn't necessarily go to consultants or go to contractors, but it's working with a learning institution, and UNBC has been integral in that. That partnership that we can provide, is a foundation that can live on long term. And I think it's something that we're now turning our minds to. What does this look like, not in 3 years, 5 years, but what does the 10, 15, 20-year time horizon look like? And I think that's what industry can provide in and around this space. I think for me, working with the university is incredibly powerful as well because, look, we are all citizens of the North. We are living here in the northern parts of this province. It allows us to grow capacity here in the North. And if we can have students studying in the North, if we can provide those opportunities for students to connect with the lands, the waters, the rivers, the systems that they're working on, the expectation is that we'll keep this talent here in the North. And that for me is incredibly important, incredibly valuable. I think lastly for me, the partnership provides for the continued growth of University of Northern British Columbia. It provides for a facility that all of us should be proud of. It is our community's facility up there. And I was actually talking to my son only a couple of days ago about where he wants to go in the future, and one of the things he said to me is, look, I'd like to stay local. I'm interested in, studying in Prince George. So for me, that's incredibly powerful, and I think that's one of the biggest things that this partnership can provide for, is a much stronger learning institution in our own host community.
If I could just add one point onto that, what Andrew, you said about the students, and I think that's so important. Obviously, with the university and what we're doing with the programming and the research, but it's those students and the experiences they have, they are the next generation of thought leaders and change agents, but also to see true meaningful partnership with industry embedded and coexisting within community, I think that sets such an important example of where we can make valuable change.
Why is it important to include communities and First Nations in partnership work?
Yeah, look, absolutely. So, from the very first days of my role working in and around First Nations communities, working around local governments, working with those communities, one of the first things we kept hearing is the river isn't performing in the same way that it was. We're seeing things impacted. We're seeing challenges. The amount of times when I'm talking to those communities, I've been using words like unprecedented events, unprecedented rain events, unprecedented dry spells, droughts. It's something that we realized was also on the minds of the nations and the communities. As we went deeper to understand the ecological performances and how can we improve the ecological systems in the Nechako River, and ultimately in a way that can reconnect First Nations with those waters, with those fisheries, we learned really quickly that we didn't have enough data. We don't have enough, and I'm using the royal we there, us as a society didn't have enough for us to take those decisions and direct our efforts. So this work is instrumental in that, and it's valuable not only to Rio Tinto and operations, but certainly this science is available for the communities, the First Nations, but also other industries, other impacted peoples in this region. So it's incredibly valuable for us.
And just to build on what Andrew said, I mean, with our new strategic plan ready at UNBC, one of the founding themes was act on truth and reconciliation. So it's really important for us at the university to highlight to our staff and our faculty and our students the importance of that. And to me, and building upon what Andrew said, it's more than just consultation or building a relationship. It has to be much deeper in that. So ensuring that in addition to the work with this partnership, that we have that lens and it's deeper and more meaningful with the relationship we have with our First Nations communities. UNBC, through our 4 campuses throughout the North, works with many First Nations and Indigenous communities. And that is really important for us at UNBC, me as the president, and all those that are connected to our communities. So seeing, how both of our organizations value that and are committed to that, I think is extremely important.
And how is this collaboration approached?
Go ahead.
So look, I think, Dr. Stephen Derry's been incredibly generous with his time, attending community meetings, attending forums, attending different roundtables, being there, being transparent about the process, demystifying what it is, his students have been doing, and just bringing it to people. And I think for me, there's no substitute for being boots on the ground, being in front of communities, being in front of those advocacy groups, being in front of any of those concerned citizens is the only way to embark on that. And that's been something that I've been incredibly proud to work with Dr. Stephen on.
Yeah, it's so critical, that honesty, that transparency was really important for us at UNBC, and I'm sure that Dr. Derry and Dr. Martins would echo this, is if research only stays within the 4 walls of the academy, it doesn't have any impact. So having partnerships allows us to, like the one we have with Rio Tinto, allows us to work together, work in community, make sure that the communication is out there so we can make those positive changes and really have those meaningful dialogues.
Who would you suggest maybe other benefactors of this partnership?
I think first and foremost, I think the research that we're conducting and working with Rio Tinto and having that partnership benefits the partnership and the relationship we have. As was said at the outset, the goal is to make change. The goal is to bring data to life. The goal is to better the communities in which we coexist in. The other benefactors, I would say, folks here in the room, to see the value of universities and industries working together and trying to ensure that we have a common goal of wanting to make positive change, and that the coexistence of both of us is really valuable. So I think shining the light to how we've done this, I hope would invite others to embark on similar partnerships and relationships to really move things forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly, I'd agree with everything Dr. Geoff said, and I think that for me is probably the challenge out to the industry partners, is perhaps there's ways to embark on answering some of those tougher questions, those difficult elements that may be impacting your businesses, and doing it rather than, again, like I said, rather than through consultants or contractors, let's take it back to a learning institution. Let's see how we can do it in a way that progresses our overall society and our scientific approach, but also in a way that grows talent, that grows students, that keeps our communities engaged here in the North. If I could just add one other point on that. The other benefactor is the communities in which we serve.
The research is not meant to tick a box to say that we did something. You know, as Andrew made in his comments, you know, when First Nations communities would say the river is not acting the way it once did, so having research that can make meaningful insights and potentially meaningful change, you know, it's the community that I think will be, at the end of the day, one of the more ultimate benefactors.
I think we'll turn to see if there's any audience questions.
The audience participation moment. Yes, we have. The question was for those that didn't hear it, does UNBC have research buildings? We have research buildings on campus here in Prince George. But the other thing is our research goes beyond and into community. So although it may not be a building, the work that Dr. Derry and Dr. Martins are doing, they're out in community. So the community itself and working with communities is almost intensively a research building. But we do have them on campus. It's hard to see you. The light is very bright, I will tell you that.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I think just building on Geoff's comment, I had the fortune yesterday to do a tour of the campus and do a tour of that UNBC facility. And again, it's something I'm always struck by. I've done that tour a number of times now, that the way in which, you know, the labs, the research, everything is constructed, it's all around collaboration. And one of the things that, you know, struck me, and we talk in the spirit of partnership, is that you have the different disciplines all in one building, all working together, and you get that cross flow of ideas and inspiration and relationships as you have, you know, climate change research chairs sitting next to psychology, sitting next to engineering. And it was one of the things that I really am attracted by in UNBC, and I think one of the points of difference that we can offer here in the North.
No, absolutely. If I could just build upon that. I mean, you know, the size of UNBC does promote that interdisciplinarity where you have those different disciplines working close by one another and then working with industry. To me, that allows us not to, if you had a department of 200 people all in one discipline thinking the same way, but that interdisciplinarity allows us to add lenses to things in which we would view things differently. And that is where the real sort of movement of fields and new knowledge really comes from in terms of thinking about things differently.
Okay, we're just going to keep going with the questions from the audience. So we have, what role do government policies and incentives play in encouraging collaboration between academia and industry in the Northern BC? And where do you see room for improvement?
You know, in terms of working with government, I think it's not dissimilar to the partnership we have with Rio Tinto. And, you know, to hear the works from you know, from government this morning, and MP Doherty and MP Zimmer and MLA Giddens, is about, again, that research going beyond, working together, making sure that that information can be used in terms of where government would want to make new policy and make new inroads in terms of making things better. So I think it's about that communication that Andrew referenced earlier. We want to make sure that that information gets out and can be used.
Okay, next question is, now building trust with Indigenous communities through collaboration is a great model. Has there been any thought given to utilizing collaborative contracts when doing business with industry partners?
Yeah, look, absolutely. I think, you know, as we've been working to understand better, you know, the watershed, understand the Nechako River, one of the first places we go is to the Indigenous communities, working with the technical working groups, working with the technical teams of those communities and seeing what capacity there is available and drawing on that sort of first and foremost. Certainly, as we've looked to progress science, we've been working with a number of those resources, in First Nations, environmental companies, their resources, their people, and bringing not only sort of the traditional science in, but also that Indigenous sense, that Indigenous understanding of the land and how do we apply that back in. certainly the tables that Dr. Stefanderi and I have been sitting at, that is part of the conversation and it is brought in. And I think that is something that, as we work between the university and as we work between industry in progressing that science, it's something I'm really keen to continue building on.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question. So what role do government policies and incentives play in encouraging collaboration between academia and industry in northern BC? Oh, we already asked that one. They keep moving it around. So many local and area youth are attracted to leave for education and work, economic needs of northern British Columbia communities while building sustainable partnerships.
I think what's really important is to show the potential. Show that working together, working for the communities which we both serve, which we are all serving, to really show a path forward, to show that there's a place for not only to, get your education, get your job, but it's really about, having a life. I often say for the university that, education is a pathway for economic and community sustainability, and we need to convey that to our youth so that they see that potential, that opportunity, that they will stay and they continue to make Northern British Columbia thrive.
And look, I think just final comment from me, I think, look, we view this partnership as the start. It's something that we started back in 2019. We've progressed like any partnership, like any relationship. We just want to see it grow, flourish, and get bigger into the future. And I'd challenge industry out there today to consider working with University of Northern British Columbia and academic institutions. I think it's a huge opportunity for all of us to work better together.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to our panelists this morning. Great work, and thanks for kicking us off on our theme of partnerships.